both teams.
Yeah, and I think my mic might have been off this whole time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is, no, it's just on this one. Okay, we're good. OBS, you're killing me. All right. So the battle group bans apply to both teams, right? So if you ban terror, neither you nor your team can play terror. That's why there's only one Axis and one allied ban per team. So 4 total bans applies to games 1 and 2. But what I wanted to avoid was the problem that we ran into with the Metaplays tournament, where each player bans one battle group from each faction. You end up only seeing like the second or third best battle group. So if we get to a game 3, you cannot play any of the battle groups that you used in game 1 or 2, but you can unlock one of the banned battle groups for game 3. So we'll talk about.
Is that per player, or is it just as a group?
As a team, right?
So you could both like just whip out terror, for example, at the end.
Oh, but only one of you can use it.
Okay.
So you can never play the same battle group as your teammate, or anything that your teammate has played.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what we were trying to do, is force a choice, right? So if you ban terror up front, then you know that if you let your opponent, like if your opponent has the game 3 Axis or Allies choice, you will almost certainly have to face it in game 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see these battle group choices here. Obviously, terror banned in every single one, and then by far the second ban that we saw the most was the espionage battle group from the DAC, with a little bit.
Yeah, no, this mostly makes sense to me. I think Battlefield espionage. I mean, terror. I don't really have to say much about. It's just obviously going to get banned almost every time because it's by far the best Axis doctrine. I think it's also the most frustrating one to play against.
Oh yeah,
because it's just invisible MGs running about. And the V1 or whatever, just killing stuff, and it's just annoying.
Yeah, it's funny.
And then the KT at the end.
The KT is good, but not overpowering, and
it's not really the backbreaker, no.
Yeah, but it's the invisible MG42s. Even if only one of your opponents can use that, they can just eat up so much map control that it makes it really, really hard to counter. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that either. I'm going to flick over to the allied battle group bans. I thought this is probably interesting and a little instructive as well. So you've got the biggest ones banned are heavy weapons and Australians. Heavy weapons. I'm interested in what you think about the heavy weapons piece. I understand the Australians. I think the Australians are a fantastic counter to the DAC. And
I mean, yeah, you got the 2-pounder, got the Archer, the Australians, just a generally solid doctrine.
Yeah,
plus cheap.
Plus the over repair. Right?
Oh yeah, and that works on allied units too. So if your opponent or your ally rather gets like a purging out, you can just over repair it, which is probably the most
disgusting combination. Yeah,
that sounds horrific to go up against.
Yeah, and so the other one, like I said, heavy weapons was banned. I think that's probably just because people don't want to deal with the purging and the strategy that is kind of
the doctrine in general is actually across the board good, but the purging is the most broken thing about it. I mean, the 50 cal is good.
Yeah,
having permanent sprint on all your AT guns is cracked. I know it's a little bit underrated, but the ability that you can also get that the Gallant Stand. That's a free ability that gives you 50% damage reduction, which is pretty unlike any support weapon, and it gives you, I think on your AT gun specifically, it gives you 50% more fire rate, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah, especially for if you go with the 3-inch AT gun, the M5, that is nasty. The extra fire rate, and I've seen people make it work. But it's a lot like using a 17-pounder or a Flak 88. You've got to be really good with the towing mechanic with the half track to keep it out of harm's way.
The Doctrines is good in general. It's got it also, I think, plays the USF strengths the most in team games. Because I think I'm not too much of a 2v2 player, so take this with a grain of salt. But from my understanding, USF kind of focuses around WC in team games. So it's a lot of 30 cals, a lot of bazookas, a lot of M3s and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you kind of just want to play tier 4, tier 2, or tier 3, tier 2, and then just go Pershing.
Yeah, it's been interesting because in a lot of these games, and we'll talk about battle group picks after the first cast here, but a lot of these games you've seen people get really aggressive with riflemen early, because I think the general kind of consensus is for the allies to win, they have to have early map control and own the pace of teching, and if they get behind the 8-ball, they'll eventually kind of lose out to some of the Axis armor that's available. The other thing I think is interesting, we saw this a little bit last night in the live match. Heavy armor from the Brits was banned, and so maybe you can explain this to us because we were chatting about it last night. Why would you ban the Brit heavy armor over some of the other options?
I think it's the Black Prince, and the Black Prince is a menace on its own. Let's be real; it's one of the best options in the game. And in terms of heavy tags, I mean, it can fight practically everything the Axis fields, like not only well, but like consistently well. So it doesn't really fear like Tigers and King Tigers. On top of making essentially Brumbars and P4s hard to use. And then on top of that, you got some pretty decent utility. I mean, you have cheaper Royal Engineers is always useful. It means you can believe you have a little bit more room for misplay. And then you have repair stations, which is always just good. I mean, having the ability to repair like your ally without having to port over units is always nice.
Yeah,
and then obviously I think
the repair stations for a teammate too. You set up, especially if you build like 2 of them and you set them up in the back line, can really help kind of.
Yeah, I mean it's just solid utility.
Yeah,
and then I think the other big breadwinner is the mark target or artillery saturation, both of which are really good. Mark target is excellent. It's essentially like a free recon run. It just makes all your units across the board just do better against everything. Because I think it's you get accuracy against everything. So infantry, tanks, and that's just useful for sections, especially now that sections got buffed. I'm just giving line of sight. Or the artillery, which just makes using like packs, flat guns, and MGs really difficult. And on top of that, like, for example, if you're playing it in game 3, although in this case it'd be unlocked regardless, there's a kind of like niche thing where you can kind of deploy it against stuff like terror and battlefield espionage, where you can actually like scout them with the planes, you know? Like you can kind of nullify a lot about their power there.
Yeah, that would be a really nice counter to the espionage in particular, with the incendiary rounds and the cloak bonus, which is a menace for allied armor to deal with in the late game if you can't spot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super useful. So I think what we're gonna do here, we're gonna pull up this game. So we're gonna start with a game 2, and so just as kind of a little bit of context here, we've got, this is Team ER versus GLA. So Team ER is Hunter and Sniper, and GLA is George H.W. Bush and Conrad Kurz. And so just for reference, so they banned Australian Defense, Terror, Heavy Weapons, and Mechanized, which I think were kind of the battle groups that, with the exception of Mechanized being swapped for Espionage, I think those were the battle groups I mainly expected to see banned. And so
these are pretty much the only people that banned Mechanized, right? Because it was like 9%.
Yeah, there's one other, Blue Skid Row and Nico banned Mechanized as well.
That makes sense, I think. I feel like there's an argument to be made that banning Mechanized is actually worth it, just because the Wesp can be very oppressive.
Yeah. Someone made the point yesterday that if you ban heavy weapons from the US and you ban heavy armor from the Brits, that you maybe don't need to ban to worry about Mechanized, because the Panthers don't have anything to fight against.
I mean, that's true. But the Panther is like it's a pseudo generalist in that you can still deploy it against soft targets like infantry and kind of still harass. I mean, and you still have the Stug D and the ARAD, and it's still just a generally good doctrine.
The Stug D with the Starstrip might be one of the sneaky best columns, just because of the way it screws with the timing. All right,
It's a solid.
I have this replay pulled up here, and I'm paused at the 2-second mark.
I'm sitting on 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're even there. I got this cast set up, and that OBS is capturing the game. There we go. All right. Okay. So we will just roll right into this guy. I'm going to unpause in 3, 2, 1. Unpause. Now I'm at 4, 5, 6.
5, 6.
Okay. So here in teal, playing Brits, we have Lost a Panther. This is Hunter. And then his teammate Sniper in blue playing USF. And then down here on the south side of the map, we've got George H.W. Bush here in red playing Wehrmacht. And Konrad Kurz in purple playing the DAC. Right away, seeing Hunter has gone for Canadian Shock. Sniper has not chosen anything. And then George H.W. Bush has gone Breakthrough. We'll talk about this a little bit later. We've seen Breakthrough used quite a bit. It's also worth noting this is the second game in this series from these teams. And so the Axis team lost the first game as the ally. So they need to win this one to force a game 3.
This is interesting, man.
Yeah.
So I'm not too familiar with the meta of team games, but I assume people that play rifles eventually transition into tier 2.
It kind
So
of
we're gonna see what's going on.
It depends on the player a little bit. The half tracks are still very strong, so that is a really viable meta. For me, it depends who you're paired up against. So if I'm USF and I see I'm up against Wehrmacht, then I'm probably I would consider going motor pool, because I think you can play barracks into motor pool with some success, especially if you get an early Jeep and you can drop a machine gun when you need it.
Yeah, that's true. I do like the little bit of teamwork going on from the Axis team there. Red was capturing the cutoff while the purple advanced up with the PGs. It's going to be a pretty rough engagements at the start, I think.
Yeah, this is crazy. These Panzer Pioneers are sitting on the point in green cover, but they are just still taking a ton of damage between the Vickers and the Dingo. But Conrad has his Panzer Grenadiers move over and apply a little bit of pressure. But this map plays out in kind of a tricky fashion, because if you don't coordinate with your teammate and you try to grab both fuels, you can get split and either cut off or flanked by the other team and just kind of defeated.
Yeah, we already got a flank coming in for the center there. We got a rifle cutting through, and there's not much really covering the cutoff right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to take the center VP there. But I kind of expected a push to the cutoff. He's also dealing with these Gren squads over here on the flank. I don't see MP40s in the queue yet for either one of those Gren squads. But that build looks like it's going to be 4 Grenadiers with Breakthrough. So my guess would be MP40 Grens into Luftwaffe Company, Whirlwinds, and then a Tiger. That's kind of been the standard build for Breakthrough.
That sounds alright. I'd be spooked to try that in a team game, honestly, because it's a lot more individual power spikes. And like rifles in general, in my opinion, kind of dominate Grens. So I feel like it's a bit of a risky move, especially because he probably has to go the Veterans C1 upgrade to kind of sustain this sort of fighting.
I agree with that. I think you're giving up some space in the early game, but you're hoping that you hold on to a fuel, you get the Whirlwind out. Oh, the MP40s pop, and it's like, it's a lot of damage, but they drop so many models. That 2-man squad could actually be in trouble. I think they're going to get away just fine there. The rifles don't do much DPS on the move at range. Oh no. A P-Grand squad got cleaned up by the Brits on the opposite side of the map.
Jesus. That's a pretty bad start.
Yeah.
But we got a replacement PG, so you know, technically no field presence loss. We got tier 2 and tier 3 rolling up for the Axis team now. We got Panzer Company, which is interesting. So that's
So my battle group or my build prediction was already wrong. That's good. I
think you made the right call though. I think tier 2 is probably slightly better. This does indicate though that they're more worried about the mid to late game than they are winning the early game.
Yeah, I think, you know, having lost game 1, my guess is that they're probably coming into this with like, we just need to win this game. We don't need to worry about the ticket count or style points. We just need to make sure that we force a game 3.
This does open up the opportunity for, you know, stalling for a Tiger. I mean, I don't know if Stugs are meta, but, you know, Stugs are theoretically kind of good. Oh, we got a grenade on retreat path on the right side on the Grens.
That's a really nice grenade.
That's
last model. Yeah. I know Grens are inexpensive, but you need that map presence. I think the risk here now, you almost see George Bush over here. He's pushing up through the center, and I feel like that's kind of where he should be fighting. Is in the middle where he can provide some support to Conrad. And they've done a good job of holding their plus 10 fuel.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought on the left side that Conrad would be pushed off, but he somehow managed actually to stabilize himself pretty well. And I would just wonder if the allied team's being a bit cautious and playing it a bit safe because they know they have the VP lead, or game lead rather. They can just kind of grind them down.
Yeah. Also, so Conrad's already upgraded the combat half tracks, so that's why you see that 250 actually bouncing so many of those rifle shots. I think that's a really kind of important upgrade if you plan on playing with half tracks. So it looks like he is. He's called in the half track with the assault grenadiers. Meanwhile, snipers hopped on the cutoff here. Egren's out now from George Bush. They force away the rifles. They're going to regain this cutoff here.
Yeah, we got bars on the way. And we also got double upgrades on the half track. It's going to be the double 259. It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of mobility and a lot of firepower, I think.
It is. But there is a Canadian, although he's upgrading the mortar package. If this was a Piat on the way, I'd be very worried for Conrad right now. But luckily for him, it's going to be the mortar, so...
Oh, man. This MG, this... Vickers from Hunter, they're actually just going to let it get away. Oh, and going for the Dingo. With the Assault Grenadiers, I like that combat disembark. Dingo annihilated. Snare comes in on the 250, but actually, all that's going to do is stun. The 2509s, they could pick up this infantry section too. This might be a huge pickup for the Axis team early. Oh, look at that fortunate retreat path. I think...
Yeah, I'd commit for this. You kinda... I feel like they're a bit behind. He's lost a PG early. Okay, I guess that. Now he just has to make sure to... oh, okay, the section retreated, so he's pretty much safe. But that was a very good play. I really liked that. The timing was very good. Coordinated. He's even healing the PGs in the cutoff while they're restoring their fuel supply, so... Overall, very well played.
Yeah, really good team coordination there, and they're also now harassing the Sally field. Nice grenade on approach and good dodge there from Sniper. Yeah, with the upgraded BARs, obviously these Grens are going to lose this one. Sniper is going for the motor pool. Hunter was going for the Stewart unlock. It looks like he has decided not to pursue that. Oh, another grenade on retreat. Wow. That is a fantastic grenade, even with them splitting around the little toll booth there.
So looking at the teching, he has unlocked the Stewart, but he's not building one. He's probably just waiting for the fuel, it looks like.
Okay. Okay, I see it now. It looked to me like he had canceled it, but I just misread it. No, and also Conrad has unlocked armored support. And he's got vehicle survivability, so these 2509s are even chonkier. Oh, Reki already...
got another grenade on retreat.
Oh no, those MP40 Grens. If the rifles pursue... Well, the riflemen have to run away from the bundle grenade, and then the mine. Nice mine placement. So that bundle grenade saves that Gren squad. But sniper, 4 rifles and a captain, doing a great job applying some pressure here through the middle. Oh, but these 250s with the flat filling. Oh, that he just converted a Gren squad to a P-Gren.
I feel like that's desperation. He saw so many squads with these rifles now. And by the way, it's not 4 rifles, it's 5. So it's a super heavy commit into tier 1. Which does lead him... It's going to lead him into a very susceptible mid-game. If there had been a verbal here, they could have been really punished. But because Bush is playing, like tier 3, I guess they could hack, to protect the 259s and stuff, but... against rifles, tier 3 is kind of notoriously kind of weak against it.
Yeah, and then what's interesting to me is that Conrad is playing... It's like his build is focused so much on mobility, but he's on the side where they want to try to hold that fuel. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he got an early power spike, which was very good, but the situation is looking very rough for Axis. I would not want to be in particular Bush's shoes. He's got no healing. There's he's lost 3 squads, which is just demoralizing and it makes you feel hopeless. And all he's got really is the pack to defend himself, but he does have tier 4 on the way, and they've held a steady fuel control. And with the fact that the allies are going for a very heavy investment into light vehicles, it's going to give them an opportunity here with rapid production to just throw out a P4 or Brumbar, most likely a P4, I would say, and just kind of swing the game back in their favor.
Yeah, that's right, because with the Panzer Grenadier Company, Pioneers get gunned down, just some unfortunate retreat pass, and I think he sees it, he's overextended on this side. But yeah, the Panzer Grenadier Company, the Whirlwind's not even an option for you, so you have to go something. Oh, another grenade plus a mine, that's so many casualties. That's big. So Sniper really beaten up on George Bush here. And there's some in that.
I'd wanna see their individual KDs, but I don't think we can.
The team KD allies have a slight advantage, 52 to 38. The funny thing is that the advantage, it was much steeper before, and is actually leveled out a little bit with some of the plays made by Conrad. Wow,
yeah, but in general, if you're allies, you kind of don't want to be in those positions where you're actually you're bleeding more than the allied counterparts, because it tends to be, at least in 1v1, the Axis tends to have a better KD ratio.
Yes. Well, look at this. The Stuart and the Greyhound come in, they're able to knock out one of the 250s. And then another Gren squad swapped out for P-Grens. At least he has the veterancy on the Panzer Grenadier Company. Oh, the Stuart hunting for the Flakverling. Not going to be able to find it. That Flakverling's got to be on, -1 health. The Stuart's still
sitting on literally exact 0 HP. Yeah, this is...
Oh, knocked out by a rifle round on the flank. Oh, and so this game is just tilted suddenly. The loss of both 2509s and the Flakverling. The Allies now sitting on the cutoff here. So that big swing through the middle, that's 5 bar rifles from Sniper. That's just so much anti-infantry firepower. And now, look at these P-Grens, they have to back cap to just hold on to their close fuel. Oh, these
they have a decent surplus, so it's not all grim, because there's going to be a P4 in about a minute, which is okay timing.
Oh, the Flampanzer. I kind of like the choice of the Flampanzer, because if you look at the build from the Allies, it's all infantry and team weapons. He's got a limited amount of time to make it work.
The main thing I'm worried about is, yes, it's very strong. It's a very good vehicle. It's an excellent thing, especially against Sniper's build, which is just completely exposed to this. But Stuarts have marked target. They have, well, I don't know if he went for the suffer power, but if he went for the marked target, that's going to make the PC hard to make work. On top of that, he's already got a natural snare. He's got grenades. He's got piats. It's definitely, if he gets the opportunity to just run back to his base, it's amazing. But it's going to be about finding that opportunity, and he's already found a pretty good opportunity on those Canadians.
Yeah, just the Stewart and a 6-pounder in the way. He just has to be careful not to overextend. God forbid you hit a mine. Oh, stun shot comes in. That's the tread breaker from the Stewart. The Pac-38 not in position to support. He's got a couple upgrades on his vehicles.
We got a big assault ramp push on the AT guns. He's going to decrew one. He's going to roll up everything now. Just smelling the opportunity there.
Oh, there's the second AT gun in the back, and all of these, this like rifle platoon here in the middle. Grenade assault doesn't do what I think he thought they were going to recrew that 6-pounder. Greyhound on the flank. Been
slightly luckier on the spread. I think he actually gets to kill a lot of those. Well, actually gets to kill the AT gun because he does a lot of HP damage, but did not get it there. Ooh.
So I like this from the Axis team. They've stopped trying to play wide and they've consolidated to help each other in the middle. Nice. The Vet 1 from the Flampanzer stuns the Stewart briefly just to try to get that VP cap. Also worth noting, the Allies have evened out the VP situation. Initially, the Axis had a huge advantage, but the Allies have recovered pretty significantly.
Yeah, it's looking like I feel like the Allies team is kind of in a flux position right now. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a window here where the P4 is completely uncontested, except by AT guns, of course. But we can make one good play, catch out the Greyhound, catch out the Stewart. You get one of those killed. Flank 3-3 will have a field day. Honestly, even double flank P3 here as an all-in could work. Mm-hmm. You are in a position right now where you're behind. It's a desperate situation. Your ally, you lost a lot of units. You haven't really wiped anything of your own, so you kind of have to get something back here.
Instead, we're going to see another Assault Grenadier half-track come out. I feel like they've got enough AT on the field for now, right? They know they don't have to worry about, just based on the selections, the biggest thing they have to worry about is a Crocodile. Meanwhile, Sniper, he's still investing heavily into the infantry play, so no tank depot. He's got the motor pool. He's gone advanced logistics, and now he's doing survivability. Oh, this Pac-40 is facing the wrong way, and the rifles are all over it. Nice push from Sniper. Look at these grenades come in on the Panzer Grenadiers. Nice bundle, but doesn't do as much damage as he would like. More rifles coming in. The AT gun was decrewed. Oh, the can round from the Greyhound. That's forces one of the P-Grand squads away. Oh man, if the P4, it keeps whiffing its shots. Ultimately, I think George Bush takes that engagement on the opposite side here. Another 2509 knocked out by Hunter here. Yeah, you are exactly right. The Canadians with the Piats, really strong counter. Oh my gosh, look at the damage of that Gammon bomb to those assault cranes.
And oh god, the nuclear bomb.
The Flampanzer are just sitting at half health though. Like, it can't pursue because if it runs into these 6-pounders, it'll just be knocked out immediately.
Yeah, I'm worried for the Axis team. The P4 is going to be the big swinging piece here, and right now, sure, it's secured the north side fuel, but in the long run, it's not sustainable. The next wave of rifles is going to arrive, and the pack is 2-man. The P4 is, sure, it's got the Pinto, but it's not going to be enough to force off 5 rifles and 2 AT guns. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, let's see if it's not going to get the kill shot on the Greyhound. Yeah, and actually, I don't know if it's the accuracy or the damage profile, but sometimes I feel like the P4, it gets a couple of good hits in, does a lot of damage, and sometimes it really, really doesn't. It just kind of whiffs.
That's kind of the nature of most medium tanks and co. But
Yeah.
sometimes they just wipe the squad randomly, and sometimes they just whiff 5 shots in a row.
So Hunter is going for a Matilda here. I think that makes sense based on what we've seen. Oh my gosh, those Canadian mortars with the incendiary. That's
Yeah, they're nasty.
yeah. And the Canadians just tanking a bunch of damage from the Flampanzer. Fortunately, it pops smoke to back away, but the pressure that Hunter can apply, especially with the Recce already from these sections, at least Conrad's been able to hold on to this fuel point.
Yeah, but I think that hold is about to be tested pretty heavily. We got a swarm of rifles attacking the cutoff. But we got a response from Bush.
Oh no! You see that random scatter that killed that assault grenadier squad?
Oh my god!
Just a random artillery round came in and hit him on retreat. That's unfortunate.
That's just brutal.
All right, so I'm gonna close up the US build here just to open up the screen because these builds are getting really complex. So I saw we had Sniper building a Chaffee, but you may have to keep an eye on the US build order for me. I like that George Bush, he's kind of collapsed into the center a little bit. I think this is the way that they need to think about playing this game, is not allowing Sniper to continue to roll through the center with this massive barred up and teched up rifles.
I am honestly surprised we have not seen a single MG, honestly. Like an MG42 here would be very nice, but Bush he's kind of expecting to basically just anti-rifle tech. He's got double STOS, P4. I mean, if Sniper had been playing heavy armor right now, I'd be worried, really worried for access, because there would be a pershing on the way after all these rifle hordes. But he hasn't even selected a doctrine yet. So we're kind of sitting here, we're kind of waiting, like what's going to be the next move. If it's got armor, is it going to be the EC8 call-in, or is it going to build done? It's most likely going to be the call-in, if I had to be a guessing man, but I mean, his build is just early game oriented, and this has, like, yes, it scales well, but he's just producing more and more infantry, more and more rifles, but he's not adapting to what his opponent's doing, just expecting it to tier 4 and SOS group him.
Oh, Panzer Grenadier squad annihilated by a Gammon bomb. I think, oh, and these Pioneers go down as well. They clear a 6-pounder. Now Flampanzer getting chased off. Mortars coming in on the Pack 38. I think, oh man. And then some of this Flampanzer, I'm getting this audio bug because so many things have been lit on fire down here on the south side of the map.
Yeah, it's a lot of things popping off at once. We got a massive engagement going on the top side, rifles against Stostrippen.
Yeah, two P4s. Tigran's trying to kind of capture this territory and hold on. That Pack 40 was in a nice spot to force away the Chaffee. But yeah, all these rifles supported by those 2 AT guns. P4s I think are actually going to struggle, so he's backing up again. And this was big. Conrad really got forced off on the opposite side, and so things from a resource control perspective are definitely swinging. Oh my gosh, these clumped up rifles. The P4s get a couple of good shots in. Now the walking Stuka.
Stuka, I'm not...
Huge hits. One rifle squad wipe. The other's down. They think about picking up the BAR, realize it's too risky. Now the AT guns are here on their own.
I was gonna say the Stuka, probably not a great idea, but I eat my words immediately. That's just immediately wiping a squad. About 10 models?
Yeah.
Insane value. I think that legitimately might have just saved them the game here, because the AT guns are now exposed.
The AT guns
it's
cleared. Egrins, I think they thought about picking up the BAR, but they didn't. It looks like the Pack 40 is going to knock out those AT guns. Chaffee forced back for repairs. I like Conrad has flipped here, so we've got a Flampanzer and a standard P3. That'll do okay against the Matilda. What it's not going to do great against is the Croc. but I don't really see the need for the crocodile. I mean, it's kind of cool, but the Axis infantry have taken a lot of losses. Maybe if you get it over against the Wehrmacht with all the Stoss trooping.
Well, the thing with the Croc is that fundamentally, that's a power tool. It's heavy armor. It's got great sustains. It's gonna heal all your infantry, give you free grenades, free abilities when it hits a certain HP threshold. And for P4s to fight the Croc, it's not great. It's actually kind of miserable because he's just gonna sit there and you're gonna bounce him off shots and he's gonna backpedal. Well, the Croc is just gonna be able to hit piercing shots fairly frequently.
Oh, the Vet 2 assault grenadiers get gunned down after a nice gammon bomb from the foot guards. I'm sorry, your points are exactly right. There's also so much going on this map with the
it's pure chaos.
Yeah, and this is why this is 2v2s. 2v2s are so much fun. That's why, like, mad respect to anyone who can cast a 3v3 or a 4v4 game. I can't even imagine trying to keep all that action on screen.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. And then you have to keep track of all the teching and all that stuff, and it's just... Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So, Conrad, he's had some really good plays, but he's had some big losses as well. And I think that has kind of hurt him. He's also, because of some of his manpower losses, hasn't been able to invest in any of the kind of the late game DAC armory upgrades. So he's got like the vehicle survival package and veteran squad leaders, but he doesn't have emergency repair kits. He doesn't have... They go for the... Oh, still some good hits on the retreating rifles. It's a good thing Sniper retreated when he did. But he also doesn't have armored reserve. So it looks like for now, unless he... they need to maintain this fuel control, and it looks like he's going to primarily be playing with Panzer IIIs. The scouts pick up the dropped BAR. Allies going to try to get some pressure. Look at this train of Panzer IVs over here. And now we're seeing...
Yeah, this is kind of what I was worried about for Sniper, right? Yeah, sure, he's got the rifles, he's got a good early game, and he was able to make a lot of good plays with it, but now we're reaching the point where, like, okay, yeah, sure, you've made your chaffy blob, right? But, like, sustainably, that's not going to last you forever. I mean, you have no AT guns anymore because you got wiped with the Suka. You only have rifles, really, and we're only now, 26 minutes into the game, getting a tier 4 tag. And on top of that, we still have a commander choice. You have so many options that could have been really useful early and given you so many advantages, but kind of just not using any of that.
So just from talking to those guys, I know that Sniper prefers to sit on his BG choice late intentionally because he wants the optionality at the end of the game. But like you pointed out, there's some... If you can't control the early game... Oh, those Panzer Grenadiers, they retreat just in time. There's some risk in that. You're not taking advantage of some of the... You know, the abilities that you can have to generate pressure or generate easy answers. Oh, incendiary bombing run. And this is the other problem now with all this late game artillery. I think Sniper spent a lot of time retreating his rifle blob.
Oh, there's no answer for the P4s right now. That's my worry. We're sitting on we've seen George basically go from like a 20 PupCap army to a 91. In fact, he's got the biggest army out of the bunch.
Yeah, now P4 on the field from Conrad Kurtz. And look, this big push here from the Axis. Oh, this P3 may go down. They're just not doing any damage to these heavy Brit tanks, even with all this force here. Now the Chaffee's on the flank, the extra rear armor damage.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was thinking about the Croc earlier, right? I mean, you got the Flamer, it's going to slow down the P4s. It's just very hard for them to punch through, and they're struggling really hard now to just even make a meaningful attack here.
Yeah, and now the mobility of the Chaffee's doing a lot. Some stolen 6-pounders. Oh, a second P4 goes down. Yeah, they're doing no damage to that Croc.
Yeah, it's brutal.
One of the Chaffee's knocked out. All of Conrad's vehicles back for repairs. And oh, there's the second Chaffee. Nice pickup. But Sniper, in the meantime, did tech his tank depot, so we're gonna see heavier tanks from him. Oh, and he's going to advance infantry. Oh, some unfortunate friendly fire on the Stuka barrage there. Another grenade on retreat. Wow, the timing's so good. Yeah,
it is interesting that he would go advanced infantry.
Yeah,
Can't say I agree with this choice at all.
I
mean, there's
look at his
if I was to play
manpower.
this, yeah, but I mean, there's I would be sitting on like armor right now. EC8s here combined with the Croc. Oof.
Yeah, Easy 8s are basically the Chaffies on steroids, right? Like additional mobility, additional damage. So if you have another engagement,
on rounds, HVAP, it's got everything you would ever want out of a medium tank, essentially.
Yeah. What's the? No, this is the rapid 155. It stops troop and immediately retreat. So that's just going to allow them to maintain a little bit of VP pressure. Man, the Canadians with all these incendiary abilities, so strong.
Yeah, it's looking grim. It's gonna have to come down to the Tiger at this point. I don't know what else Bush can do. They tried with the P4s. I mean, it was a good try, but unfortunately, it's just the reality of Wehrmacht Tier 4 against Brit Collins, essentially. It's just P4s just don't cut it against units like Pershings and Crocs.
Yeah, we can talk about balance a bit later. Wow, the Rangers, they've picked up a bazooka, a couple of bazookas it looks like. They're able to force the Vet 3 Panzer IV away. Really just forcing everything away, and now the rest of these rifles coming in. It looks like that's what Sniper's going to do, is just invest in a Rangers to help his infantry continue to scale, which is a really interesting strategy.
There's merit to it, especially with the Ranger accuracy training, so that you get individual upgrades.
P4 smashed by the Hellcat.
Yeah, so this feels like it's gonna have to be the Tiger. It's gonna have to just carry the game on its back right now, because that's the one thing where I'm looking at the Allied composition. I'm like, okay, if there's a Tiger, what can the Allied team realistically do? Well, they'd have to get a couple of more Hellcats, a couple of more Crusaders, and then we'd have to all in, like hardcore all in.
But I don't know if there's going to be time with the VP pressure that the Allies are putting on. Axis might not be able to get out of Tiger. I mean, he's still 6-7 minutes away. Excuse me, 4 minutes away from the fuel that he needs. Even though he's pretty good on manpower, and until then, he's got these 3 stolen AT guns put against a Matilda Crusader and a Crocodile.
It's gonna be grim, but there's
some big hits from the Stuka here, but just does a ton of damage, doesn't wipe those sections. I'm impressed the Flampanzer still alive and cooking.
It is, in my opinion, considered one of the best tank units in the entire roster. No, probably the best medium tank in the roster, I would say.
As long as you don't have to face other tanks.
Well, yeah, but you know, gotta take good with the bad. It's a Terminator against infantry.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So the Flampanzer finally goes down. A Crusader goes down. Look at these volleys though. But the Matilda's at Vet 3 and the Croc is at Vet 2. And so even with 3 stolen AT guns in the back, just not reliably penetrating those heavy tanks. Rangers now...
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, sorry, you can speak. So.
No, just the Rangers are hard countering this Wehrmacht infantry now because they're vetted up. They've got the weapon training with the BARs. And then 100 are now unlocking a Bishop.
I guess that's for the AT guns that got stolen. But I agree about the Rangers. They kind of just crush a lot of the infantry, and once you get the Vet 3, they scale absurdly well.
Yeah.
Especially when he's got all the upgrades. He's got advanced logistics, he's got extra HP,
Yep.
Probably cheaper munitions on top of that. You know, he's got everything he needs, and it's just super hard to deal with.
And because of the conversion, they're starting with some significant veterancy. So it's not like he's got to wait for them to scale up at all. They're starting at Vet 2 and Vet 3.
Yeah, exactly. And we now have the Tiger available for George. This is gonna have to be. He's gonna wake up and realize, hey, I can get the Tiger now.
They're walking Stuka focuses on the Croc, and then a volley of 3 AT gun rounds come in and bounces 2 of them. Bishop in the build. I think, yeah, the Bishop's got to be a counter to these AT guns.
Yeah, the Tiger's out, and there's a substantial fleet of vehicles, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Double Hellcat is good, but there's a P4, 3 AT guns in support. It's a lot of stuff to just get through to get to the Tiger.
Yeah, I would almost... It's going to be kind of a race to see if they can hold on to VPs long enough for the Tiger to help win kind of the tactical fight.
There's also going to be a second Tiger, it looks like, from the DAC player, and he's also about to unlock it now. So now we're really getting into the entrenched position of the Axis players.
And he's teched up emergency repair kits. George Bush has teched up the sky skirts.
And we're really getting to the stage now where this is kind of what I was worried about with Advanced Infantry. Sure, okay, he's sitting on 800 manpower. He's got a lot of things, but none of the stuff he has right now can adequately deal with the Tiger. I mean, Rangers can theoretically do it if the Axis player misplays, but I would be spooked to even begin trying to deal with it with just Rangers. I mean, the sheer attrition is just horrific.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, the Tiger just bouncing multiple shots from the Crocodile and the Matilda. The Bishop comes in, forces those AT guns away. Oh, and the Walking Stuka catches that low shock section on retreat. So,
ooh, amazing.
Yeah, Hunter's taking some losses here. Now, Conrad making his push on the far side. Hunter is able to retake the East VP. So the Allies still applying a little bit of VP pressure here. Oh, the Tiger shows up. Big first hit onto the Rangers for a bunch of damage. Nice smoke from the scouts to try to buy a little bit of time. On the opposite side, yeah, Tiger's kind of holding the flanks. Oh, here's the big Hellcat push. But the smoke from the scouts keeping the Hellcats from doing anything to this Tiger.
This is
3 Hellcats swinging on the Tiger now. 1 knocked out by the pack wall. Wow, they're doing a ton of damage though to this Tiger.
That's the rear hits coming into play.
Wow. So Tiger goes down. I think all 3 Hellcats definitely going to be destroyed here. But that's what you needed.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the sort of play you need, but I'm not sure if that was... I mean, that's pretty... There's still another Tiger. That's my thing. It's like, yeah, you got him, but you still have another Tiger to deal with, and that's going to be rough.
Yeah, but I think it just kind of changed the mentality here. I feel like Conrad... Oh, the staggered shot coming in from the foot guards. I feel like this DAC Tiger, he's very... Oh, the Walking Stuka got knocked out by the Rangers. Conrad's a little... It feels like he's a little overtaxed here. He's trying to keep this Tiger alive. It's... Normally you wouldn't worry about the penetration values, but the sheer volume of fire. And now the debuff from the Crocodile. Crusader getting on his flank. Yeah, Crusader's on the rear armor now, and the Tiger is just turret rotating, swinging around. 1 more penetration will do it. And that's it. Crusader cleans up the other Tiger. Oh, man.
Yeah, I feel like this is it's looking like lights out. I mean, losing 2 Tigers in a row.
Yeah.
That's not really forgivable.
Keeping them separate on the flanks basically allowed the Allies to make those big pushes on them. But now the Rangers, all these weapons, the flames debuffing everything, the BAR suppressing.
Yeah, I just I
Guards
don't
now.
see a way back into the game anymore.
Oh,
Had they like played the Tigers left and middle or right and middle,
yeah.
put them together, you know, it would have been an impervious wall.
Especially as
Sure,
they vetted up.
oh yeah, dude, they would have just gotten worse and worse. I mean, there's a P4 as well. P4 and 2 Tigers and 3 AT guns. You position the AT guns in a position in the rear where they have to like run into you. And you have the Tigers just holding the VPs, and it becomes so difficult for the allies to make a meaningful play. They would have to commit to any attack they make, because if they, for example, just roll up the Hellcat into 2 Tigers, that means you're going to lose pretty much 90% of your HP in the first 2 shots.
Yeah. Sniper, instead of getting more Hellcats, teching into munitions surplus. Look at all of these Rangers. He's now got 5 squads of Rangers on the field.
Yeah, that just seems infuriating to play against. He's just walking at him, and there's nothing you can do anymore.
Yeah, he's because they're so vetted, they are just gonna run at everybody. And you know, Stosstroopin squad knocked out. Conrad Curtis is down to just a handful of units. And he's floating a ton of he's going for no, that's it. I think they're just gonna call it.
Yeah. I just don't think there's much they can do.
No, just
I also realized something about the replays.
Uh-huh.
If I go into tactical map,
Mm-hmm.
it pauses the game for like 0.5 seconds.
Oh, so it throws you behind me?
Because I was going to tac map to look at the map and stuff, I was falling behind in the replay. I was confused. That's what was going on. So I had to like in the background speed ahead, and then if somehow I'd fall behind again, I'd be super confused because I played that 4 times. I was like, how is this guy still ahead of me?
Okay, that makes sense, because that's happened with a couple other co-casters as well in the past.
Okay, I just won't use the tactical map then.
Okay, which is funny because I use it sometimes in the cast to try to like show the whole map overview and some of the kind of the bigger flanking moves that were taken. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna look at some of the questions in the chat. So we had why so early? I got up early. Well, first off, because OrangePest is co-casting, he's in Europe, so it was like late morning for him, early morning for me. I've got a bunch of stuff going on later in the day today. Plus, we have some potential for round 2 games today. So I wanted to cast some of this stuff and do some highlights with OrangePest before all that started. So that's why kind of the early start today. And then looking at, is there a tournament bracket somewhere? So the players have the round 2 matchups. I have not built out like a formal tournament bracket because we did a really weird setup with 24 teams. But there's a Reddit post that highlights this tournament. A lot of that will cover like the actual bracket and the matchups. And now that the players all have their round 2 matchups, I will post that today. Dak is unplayable. I don't know. So we're going to talk about that here. On one hand, there's a little bit of a player elo disparity in this first round, kind of across the board. We can talk about, but also 50% access win rate. And I think there were no double Ver or double Dak builds. Every game, one player went Dak, one player went Wehrmacht. Part of that's the battle group ban system. And so the fact that, you know, you lose terror, if you potentially lose like mechanized, then it's really hard to play double Wehrmacht with decent battle groups. But so Dak has been effective, at least in the tournament here. I think Dak is really good in 2v2. Nath, it was early for me. He says, just refit the Matilda into the Croc. The Croc still has better pen than the Matilda. Even better, you can get a Croc with your Matilda. Yeah, and this was game 2. Good morning, clubs. They played their first game, I think, was a little bit less close. The ER team won, and then here they took it to the 40-minute mark. So I thought it was pretty solid. OrangePest, what you have any other thoughts about kind of the general style of play here, the game that we just saw?
I mean, I'm not going to get into balance because I don't feel like I'm equipped to talk about 2v2. But I agree with Dak unplayable. No, I'm sorry. Dak OP, USF underpowered, as Texan would say. But in terms of the general game there was a lot of errors. I didn't want to like sit there and like cut into those Axis guys, but they were not playing optimally, let's say. There was no medical bunker for a really long time. I mean, the guy threw away too. 3 grands, which is just Jesus. Tier 3, I'm not sure. Maybe that's a team game thing, but I would feel like tier 2 is just better across the board. But there's an argument for packs, I guess.
I feel like Martyrs can struggle on that map with some of the sight lines and some of the pathing.
Oh no, it's not like cut and dry, but it's like if I was in his shoes, I mean, just a single verbal there against those 5 rifles, and it's like you're massacring.
Yeah, the lack of an MG42 is really interesting. And maybe he expected to see against USF like a bunch of 1919s and like support center play, but especially once you see like the 4th rifleman, the MG42 is a good enough machine gun. I think you can afford to back invest and get that out. Also, I think Conrad had the flak filling there for a minute, but it eventually got knocked out. The flak filling can be a really good answer to the rifle blob. Yeah, Nath, I agree with you. I think, especially once you see the cluster of rifles. Now, Sniper's not a bad player. He'll keep using smoke from his scouts to try to deal with and the different sight lines. But yeah, a machine gun just to manage the blob. And you kind of saw as we got into like the early late game, is that it's like wasn't quite the mid game, but wasn't quite the late game. As all of the artillery started coming, especially that walking Stuka, that Sniper was forced to just mass retreat his rifles off the field quite a bit. So, maybe an MG early could have countered some of that pressure, even just an MG to cover that cutoff. Sniper did a really good job driving through the center of the map.
There was a lot of errors there.
Yeah.
I mean, even just discounting they got lost a PG at the start of the game. That was pretty bad. There was some nice coordination early, but there's just I feel like even if the strategy was on point, which I don't, it was okay. But even if it was on point, it was the micro that really failed them on the decision making on when to do their attacks. The attack on, for example, the Brock/Matilda and the ET guns, killing the ET guns was good. But then for some reason they committed to attacking the Croc and the Matilda when they weren't doing any damage, while there were 2 Chaffies just poking them at the rear, instead of backing off and retargeting the Chaffies and just wiping those out.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of overextension, and I think good players will punish that pretty regularly. It's also like this is a nice segue into what I wanted to chat with you about is like the difference between auto match and tournament play. Obviously, like you only get one shot, a loss. In this case, it's a best of 3, but if you lose, your best of 3, you're out. So, like, how does your mentality change when you get into like tournament games?
It really depends on what sort of tournament it is, but for me, so this is 1v1 more than 2v2, obviously. But in 1v1, when I was super serious about winning tournaments, like we're talking about the big $2,000 ones, I sat down on every single map, and I mapped out a capping order. I mapped out multiple capping orders. So like per map, there was at least 2 to 3 strategies. On top of that, you also then have to study who your opponents are, what are their like capping orders, what are their preferred strategies. And obviously in a bigger tournament like this, it's a little bit harder to study every single opponent. But for me, at least the thing that makes it very different from auto match is that you have a set condition, you have predictability, which is very important. So knowing the maps, knowing which side of the map you're on, and auto match is random.
Mhm.
So if you're on north side, or if it's opposite, that changes how a faction plays on a specific map. So that's very important to prepare for. So for me, the main thing is you prepare, and then you hone down and you sharpen your preparation heavily, and then you study your opponents. Because just knowing what your opponents like, if you, for example, just taking like some predictable players, Reekley always plays the same thing.
Mhm.
Because he does that, it means he's very easy to read. And you know what he's going to fall back on every single time. And that makes it so in a tournament context, well, he's not that much of a threat as much as he's an auto match, because you know what's going to be coming, and you know how to deal with it, and you know how to set up for it.
Mhm. Yeah, that is interesting. So, like, because I only played, like I said, a couple of Co2 tournaments, but I did play a lot of competitive Counter-Strike, and it's kind of the same thought process where you go and you look at, like you can here, you go look at replays of your opponent, and there's what's nice about being in a league is you get to see matches as well as just scrimmages, right? So you can see what people actually do when winning matters. And Nath says, you'll know I'll throw almost every game I play in. That's also true. But so being able to like actually go back and watch what the different players are doing, and to keep everything super clean, all of the replays from the matches are also posted where the players can get them. So everyone who, like, they can go back in, they can watch the different teams play. All the battle group choices are available to the players in the tournament. So there's some free information there. And if they want to, going into round 2 or going into the final rounds next Saturday, they can do that research as well and watch how people played. What was interesting to me is your thought about like the different branch plans per map. So depending on your, and that's got to be super, take some time up front, but it's super helpful. You're like, okay,
it's super time consuming, so I stopped doing it.
But if you're serious about winning, right?
Yeah, no, but there's like actual things on the line. It's brutal. I sat down with Napoleon, or the Maze, as you would know him,
mm-hmm.
and it was like, we're talking like a 4 to 5 hour like session when we just sat there and we just constant yapping about strategy and builders and looking at every single map, and it's like, okay, at minute 130, what's on the field for Axis versus Allies? Can I utilize this small timing to get an optimal engagement on USF, for example? So because I would have like 2 scout, well, this was back during when we were innovating the DAC meta, but for example, for DAC, it's like, okay, how do we deal with the Solkrens and the double bike, double 250 build?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, the bike is going to rush the fuel. Ergo, the first thing I have to do with my SO engineer is rush my own fuel, skip the cutoff, get a sandbag down so I can stall the bike, then follow up with another one to cap the cutoff, and then throw it on a mine on the cutoff, and all this stuff. And it's how like because back then it was a lot less competitive too, so it was a lot easier to innovate on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there's all sorts of things. Also, if there's like a patch right before the tournament that changes everything, that's also massive.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a lot, but it's fun when you're in the thick of it and you're sitting there, you're like constructing a build for everything. It's super enjoyable. Yeah,
I think so. On one hand, so we've specified the maps for the first 2 rounds. We'll do a map ban system for the final rounds there, but in the beginning, what I wanted to do is focus on maps that are pretty evenly balanced and not super cheesy or exploity.
And even having a predetermined map, and not a lot of tournaments do this, where it's like, okay, a week from now, you know exactly what maps you're going to play. That's super helpful for players because it's going to let them prepare like map specific things.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. This also explains why I will never ever be able to play at the level that you do. The amount of preparation that just goes into understanding each map when I mainly like I queue up auto match, I random queue, and I'm like, let's see what happens. No, that's really insightful. So thanks for sharing that. What I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna drop a couple of replays in chat for you. And so now what we're gonna do is look at a series between RNG and Neon Platypus. So we're gonna do up to 3 consecutive games, depending on how this goes. And so RNG, that is Aziligath and Eumyrenbra. And then Neon Platypus is Colonel Otto and Flying Pancake. So some talented players here. Obviously arranged teams and some experience playing together.
Mm-hmm.
And real quick, as we're loading this one in, so for everyone in the audience, so the battle groups banned for this, obviously Terror, and then the second Axis battle group is the Panzerjäger Command, which I think is an interesting choice for a ban. And then on the Allied side, heavy armor and heavy weapons are banned. So just again as a recap for those of you who are joining us, these battle groups are banned for both teams for games 1 and 2. If it goes to a game 3, they essentially become, you can use one of the 2 banned battle groups for your faction. You can't use both. And you also, any battle group that your team uses in games 1 and 2 is no longer available to you in game 3. So what we're trying to do is try to force just a little bit of variety without the outright, we're just going to ban the best battle group every time, because that's also that can be challenging, especially with the limited, there's only 5 battle groups per faction. So OrangePest, let me know when you're up with game 1 here.
I'm up in game 1, I think. This is Oscillagath and Eumyrenbra on allies, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, then I'm in at 2 seconds.
Perfect. All right. Switch over the overlay here. Will the round 3 map bans take place when the matchups are assigned or immediately pre-match? Round 3, 4, and 5, those map bans will take up during the pre-match sequence. So they'll ban battle groups and then they'll ban maps. And that's how we'll do it for the day of the tournament. We might pare down the map pool just a little bit, so we don't have to worry about taking time to ban Area Perennius and Road to Primasol or something like that. But okay. I need to check one more thing, and then we can get rolling here. All right, you good? I'm gonna unpause in 3, 2, 1. Unpause. Now I'm at 4, 5, 6.
6.
Okay. And if you hit the attack map too many times, let me know. We'll
yeah,
adjust.
I'm not trying to fight my natural instinct to press the tactical map.
All right, so here in blue, playing US, is Aziligath. He's immediately locked in the Armored Battle Group and Veteran Crews. Opposite him in teal is Eumyrenbra, or UMB, who has locked in Aussies. Although, interesting choice, he's gone 2 sappers and built his section command post. So we'll have to keep a watch on his build order as he goes forward. In purple is Flying Pancake playing Wehrmacht. He has not made a battle group choice yet. He is going Infantry Company and getting a Gren out. No Pioneer spam from him. Colonel Otto is Dak, has unlocked Italian Infantry and is going for a couple squads of Panzer Grenadiers. So, and then infantry.
Italian Infantry is it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think maybe there are some ways with the Guastatori, if you get them in with some of the site blockers and site pass on this map, they can be effective. Maybe the flamethrowers to deal with the garrisons, but yeah, interesting choice and certainly off meta. Which, I mean,
yeah, it's not a choice I would make personally. I feel like it's too risky. But you know, there's the L6 shock attack. You do have the right side of the tree. We can get better support weapons. You can get the howitzer. There are some decent options there, but
well,
I'd be worried. Just the mid early game is just kind of rough.
Yeah, it's going to be slow, but Dak does have some nice power spikes in the late game if you can stay in it. So we're seeing Jeep with unlocked capping for Aziligath. engineer and then some rifles. Using the engineer to already laid out some wire on green cover.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
The positions are reversed in this game compared to the game we just watched.
Yes. So there was confusion in the setup for the last game. This is how it's supposed to be, with the allies on the bottom and the Axis up top.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I just realized I was like completely thrown off. I'm like, what's going on?
No, this is how every other game will play this way. Like I said, there's just a little bit of confusion in the setup. But so they, as long as they played the game the same way, we didn't want to make it a bigger issue than it was.
No, that makes sense. We got a decent lead for allies right now early. Got the pressure coming on.
Yeah,
got an MG42 rolling out already, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a nice reaction to the rifle play. Well, I thought the rifles were in danger there, but the sapper in the section... Oh, there's the MG42 suppresses one section, I think. Yeah, rifles are going to retreat. Section trying to crawl away. Oh, a half-track with Panzer Grenadiers in it. And
not every day you see that.
This is another time. Okay, so UMB has gone for Australians, but has built 3 sections instead of using the Aussie Light Infantry.
So this is the school of thought I personally enjoy doing, which is you play the Doctor for the 2-pounder rather than the Australians.
Okay.
Because the Doctrine itself is excellent, but the Australians to me are not that great. You know, that's a little bit controversial. I know there are people out there who just see me, hang for saying that, but I think sections are just superior. You have grenades, you have better upgrade utility. It's just all the stuff that I prefer having on my main line rather than an anti-infantry specialist, which now that sections have been buffed are just so good.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe this sapper on no health is going to get away from the Grens. Sections are really good. I think part of it, my guess would be it's because he's matched up against Ver. I feel like against Dak, the Australians are just so strong. Oh, grenade assault. Nice dodge. Yeah, because the Australians outscale the Panzer Grenadiers and the Panzer Pioneers, and then when you get the 2-pounder out. But the utility from the sections, and especially some of that artillery, is just so good. Wow, that half-track survived a mine strike.
Yeah, sitting on 1 HP. Got very lucky there.
Yeah. Maybe
the thing with sections too is that once you get vet training and you're sitting in cover, just attacking them in the open is just an impossible task.
Yeah. Yeah, once they can hold something down, they're very, very hard to push off. So Assault Grenadiers out from Colonel Otto.
Got a Humber on the way as well, so we're going to look at an early power spike for allies.
Yeah, the Hummer's just so good when it arrives.
Well, yeah, man, we're seeing a timing attack being prepared. Osiligath is now preparing all his rifles in a tactical concentration group. Can attack the cut off.
So ISE and grenades. Yeah, there have been a few of those tactical firepower concentration groups in this tournament.
It's it's advanced tactics. Not every player can do it, so it's careful mastery.
It's one of those things where it can be pretty solidly countered, but you see it a lot more in 2v2s just because there's less. It's a lot harder to spread out the map. Hoorah, Rifleman. This MG34 just... I like this build from Colonel Otto. Like, he sees the problem that he's dealing with, and it's a lot of rifles, and so he invests into the MG34 to help manage that.
Yeah, I mean, it's already done with 2 rifles, which is as ideal as it gets.
Yeah, so Flying Pancake has locked in battle groups. We have all 4 choices. It's going to be Breakthrough again. So 3 Grens, one of them with MP40s. He's also gone for the Panzer Grenadier Company and is building some Pack 40s. I think that's also really interesting that we've seen Panzer Grenadier Company in 3 of the games that I've watched on this map from this round. All 3 Wehrmacht players have gone for the P-Gran Company instead of Luftwaffe. Part of me is wondering,
I can't, like, maybe it's the meta, right? Like I said, I'm not a 2v2 player. I could be, completely wrong, but my gut feeling would be, MG42 goes down.
MG42 smoked.
But my gut feeling would be like, in the long run, maybe TF3 is better. You get Nebel Warfers and, packs. And I guess you have PGs too, but it's just lacking a light vehicle feels very rough. And especially against a faction like Brits. It's Brits are less oppressive in that sense, but I'd be wanting a verbal, Jaegers are also really good.
Nice dodge by the sappers there on the assault grenades. Yeah, I think obviously a Zilligath gave away that he went armored when his Jeep was Vet 1 rolling out of the gate. The USF armored play, to me, that means you're going to deal with like light and medium vehicles a little bit earlier than normal. And then you always have to worry about the Brit Humber. And so I would very much focus on tier 2 for Wehrmacht, getting Jaegers, getting a Flak 30, gives you some optionality.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's something I'm missing. I can see it being a lot more effective if you're playing something like Mechanized, though. If you're playing Mechanized with 8 rads and packs, or Stunt-Ds and packs, that's
this Chad over here, UMB using the Aussie supply run. This is nuts. I've never seen that before in a competitive game. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Glorious. I don't even know if that's... How much fuel is that? It's like...
I don't know.
20?
Yeah, I don't know how much it's going to pick up. I have to keep an eye on that. So the reactions here. So Flying Pancake has gone heavy. A couple of MG42s now, Pack 40. Meanwhile, Colonel Otto is now invested into the flak filling. So I don't think we're necessarily going to see the L640 rush, although it's still an option. This supply truck slowly making its way back to base. I guess this is a map where it might work just because you have that plus 10 fuel so close.
I'd have to... I think it's 125 manpower to activate it. So, I mean, it's cheap.
But it's just a one-time thing. Oh, nice.
Yes, but... Let's see. Let's do some quick calculations. 125, 150 is about half a minute's worth of manpower. If you get 20 fuel, that means you get a minute's worth of fuel. So you'd be effectively getting a better timing by a minute on your vehicles.
But nice axis push here. I'm gonna try to time it with the action also to see. Oh, the mine placement prevents.
Yeah, I'm really keeping an eye out on the truck.
Okay, all right, yeah. Let me know. Let me know how much fuel it actually provides.
31. Really good.
Yeah. So. Oh, and now they're building a cache on it as well. 250 in the middle goes down to the 75 mil. Half track. Oh, and the free fighting position from the half track here is now a mortar pit in the middle. I like this. Now,
that's the free fighting position is such a cool and fun ability to go up against.
yeah, and then you can just salvage it, get your manpower back.
Oh, that thankfully that's not the case. If it's the free one, that you don't get any manpower
that's true.
back.
That's true.
Thank God. That would be
just free manpower.
Yeah, just more manpower cheats. That's exactly what the game needs. Oh, we got the Jeep almost going down. Maybe actually goes down on the right side.
100%. Yeah, Assault Grenadiers pick it up. Nice. Nice deep play with these Assault Grenadiers here. Aziligath looks like he's going to try to get on the flank. Oh, they're doing
the cache. That's
a lot of work to that cache. And here come the grenades. Cache knocked out. Oh, that was 200 manpower not well spent.
That's 400 manpower done drained for actually no reason at all. But for you, Miran, bro, I mean, that extra 30 fuel, you can see it already coming into effect because we got a Crusader on the way.
Yeah, at the 11-minute mark. Excuse me, it's pretty quick, and that is going to have the opportunity to do a lot of damage, especially if he can catch this flak for laying out of position or use the Crusader. There's no There are a couple of these Gren squads, right? So you always got to worry about a Panzerfaust. But Flying Pancake is also gone for the Opel Blitz truck, so no rapid production to help his tier 4.
Oh, this game has just gone all sorts of off-meta weirdness.
Yeah. Well, that's more
I
fun
don't even
than...
know, is the truck locked down? I've never seen it. I've never used it or seen it in action. I don't know. Like,
I think it... I actually don't know how it works because I've never once thought about using it.
it just seems bad.
Yeah. Azilagath is rebuilding that cache. He's also invested a little bit into the armored battle group here. He's unlocked the Wrecker. Colonel Otto, still no vehicle survival kits, so that Blackfang needs to be careful. Panzerjäger's forced the half-track to back up a little bit. Yeah, the other thing, so Flying Pancake, he gets an additional +5 fuel from that Blitz truck. Thank you, Broodwar. You can kind of see it in their incomes down at the bottom, but it doesn't apply to his teammate. So that makes it even less of a good choice.
I mean, there's a couple of problems here. But I think if I understand it, actually, I'm gonna double check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure this thing takes pop cap, which means it also has upkeep.
Yeah. Which makes it even less valuable.
Yeah, it means you're losing manpower. So every minute now he's gonna lose essentially 3 manpower, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you add that up over like the course of 10 minutes. That's a lot of manpower just constantly being thrown from your like core generation essentially.
Yeah. So now we're seeing, I think all of the players except for USF are into tier 4. And a little bit of a lull in the action here. I feel like the Axis team has been a little bit split up. Oh, Azilagath, like Sniper last game, investing into his infantry. So we see a scout on the field and then survival training. So that's how he's going to use his fuel.
It's also got Scott out, and we also got double Crusader out now. So we're starting to see the big power spike, and I feel like we're going to see a big all-in from Azilagath and Umair Brian in a couple of minutes.
There's definitely a lot of power there, and there's not much on the field to stop it. We got a couple of Pack 40s, or just a single Pack 40. He actually canceled the build, a Pack 38, and then some Grens with Faust, and that's real. These Panzerjägers. Yeah, here's the double Crusader. Oh, those Grens take a ton of damage. Captain Mortar Barrage coming in. Panzer Pioneers escape just barely. Oh, those rifles take a lot of damage. Oh, the P-Grens get smoked on the side by the Scott. Now the Crusaders trying to kite these Grenadiers.
Yeah,
Flying Pancake doesn't actually have the munitions for a Faust. So he's just going to bleed manpower to these Crusaders. I'm going to close this up for a little bit better sight. P4 on the way for Flying Pancake, but 2 Crusaders will eat up a Panzer IV.
There is a chance he just bounces a lot of the Crusader shots, but there's no way they win that 2v1.
Yeah.
But if he can trade at range, get some pack positioning going, which he's gonna need to run and save his pack right now.
It's getting cleared. Crusader's not even worried about it. Oh, now the P4 shows up. All these infantry sections, though. MG42 knocked out. Looks like the Crusader is going to ignore the P4 and just try to knock out these team weapons. And look at all this.
I mean, that's a fair enough play. I would drop the artillery barrage on the pack and just clear out everything else. But this is maybe a little bit too greedy.
Definitely. He's running the risk of this one Crusader getting knocked out. Artillery barrage comes in. Oh, Crusader escapes with just a little bit of health. Oh, that Gren squad could go down. Sappers are coming over here to pick up these Crusaders. The P4 can't afford to pursue. The Opal has hidden behind the house, so they don't even see it. And he just unlocked over repair, so I'm impressed with the amount of space UMB was able to create for his team with that push, because it drew Colonel Otto here into the center. And now the Allies are on double fuel and are going to continue to struggle, or the Axis continue to struggle to put out additional vehicles. Colonel Otto's got a P3 here now, but the GMC on Vet 1 can counter that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Rosilagath here. His scaling is kind of low. There's a P4 and P3, so it's not end of the world yet, but we're looking at a build that has no AT guns, just an M3. Although, if Otto's just gonna throw away his PGs, that's a whole other ball.
Yeah. Oh, the Scott goes down to the Pack 38 and the P3, and this GMC is engine critted and very damaged. So Panzer 3 could get a nice pickup here. Target weak point activated, and this P3 now stunned. So the GMC is going to live just a little bit longer.
Gonna get a little bit more damage, but...
Oh, there it goes down. Final penetration from the coax. Rifles pursue, but honestly, kind of a mixed engagement, but probably better for Colonel Otto in the long run. Actually,
I'm not sure. Losing that one PG is literally like half his main lines.
Yeah.
So,
in exchange for
like,
a Scott and a GMC.
Is nice, but...
Yeah.
I'm like sitting here, I'm looking at Osilagath's tier 4 tech incoming. We got Umirimbra with 3 Crusaders, or not 4. And also an late Australian, which I kind of like. I always like going late Australians.
3 Crusaders are all going to be over repaired. This has all the makings of an absolutely brutal dive. If Flying Pancake gets caught overextended even just a little bit.
We have that veteran training for the infantry now kicking in very late, but better late than never.
For the Brits there?
Yeah, it's just that type.
And the armored vehicle training as well.
Yeah, this is where it gets... Oof. I mean, it's just all one mistake, all it takes from the Axis players, and they're done for.
And it looks like UMB is he trying to find these Axis vehicles with the Crusaders? I think that's a really sharp play.
I mean, even just picking up one squad here is just massive. Otto has like no infantry left. There's not much he can really field to deal with this other than more P3s. So he's gonna just need to dive this.
On rapid fire. Crusaders, they think about trying to pursue the assault guns, think against it. Oh, the double Pack 38s here. The Crusaders need to be careful, even with the overrepair. Oh, wow. But the Zook squad gets the last shot and knocks out the Panzer 3. That's an unfortunate trade for the Axis. And now, Flying Pancake realizes his force is out of position. They turn in on the flank to try to help, but I don't think they were ready for that big push on the opposite flank from UMB.
No, losing that P3 means he's de facto out of the game until he can get a replacement. 4 Crusaders, I mean, Umirimbra is getting his EC8 now. This is looking pretty rough.
It's just a
having
volume problem.
against 4 is not an engagement you want with your medium tanks, you know? It's just
no, not at all. And especially because, like, with a Panzer 3, you don't even need to upgrade the gun, so you can maintain that anti-infantry DPS. Oh, Panzer 4 gets snared. Big shot from an AT gun, so that it's back for repairs. Only 1 Pioneer squad, so that's off the field for a long time now.
Yeah, this is looking kind of like it's game over. He would need nothing short of a miracle here.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one to call it early, but I mean, it's 4 Crusaders, 1 P4. It's not much you can really do realistically.
Yeah, 1 Pack 38 goes down. Especially with the over repair, they can just shrug off that first AT gun shot. Black filling knocked out. Crusader dive here. This other Pack 38 is going to get destroyed. Oh my gosh, that's just so much damage. The fire rate's so high. And the P4 can't even join the fight. What is this? This is the creeping barrage from the Aussies.
Yeah, just securing the support weapon kills.
Wow. At the very end there, the creeping barrage did a lot of cool damage, but that was that game turned quickly. I felt like it was kind of reasonably close for most of the midpoint of the game there, and then just kind of tilted out of control slightly. So I don't know if you had any thoughts there.
RIP.
Can you hear me all right? OrangePest. Did I lose you?
Oh, sorry. Hello.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. I just want to make sure. That game, I thought it was interesting. I feel like it was even and kind of back and forth a little bit, and then just kind of swung quickly. The first mini dive with the two Crusaders built a lot of space and generated a lot of momentum for the allies, and then switching fields and swinging again with all that support in the middle from Azilagath, and then just some unfortunate trades for the access. What did you take away that one?
It was fairly even at the start there, but Azilagath and Marimbra kind of implemented a sort of cheese. It's not super cheesy, but it's a bit of a cheese strat.
Mhm.
Essentially, just pouring all their resources into rapid fuel leads. So throwing out the truck, getting the cash down. I mean, 11-minute production on a Crusader is massive. Keeping the Humber alive there too, and refitting that in the late game there is massive. And then the fact he just built up a fleet of like 4 tanks, and it's just from there you're essentially dead as Axis. Once it's like a critical mass, and you can't like there's no magicking way out of like numbers, you know. At a certain point, if you aren't keeping up your production or equalizing in some form with either AT guns, handheld AT, or your own vehicles, you're just gonna get steamrolled.
Yeah, I feel like, and exactly opposite that. So Flying Pancake, Plant Bear, felt like he was trying like a tier 1 stall into tier 4, right? He built a couple of Pack 40s, but he didn't really invest into the Panzer Company at all. And they just,
I mean, that's like one of those niche situations where Stug is actually kind of cracked.
Stug, or if he had gone tier 2, Steven, hey, it is best of 3. So we're gonna do the second game here shortly. Yeah, it's just an interesting choice. I think on that map with all the camo, the Jaegers with the Shreks are really, really strong as well. And really good at dealing with the Crusaders, because they have pretty high health. I think that dissuades the Crusader dive, but for Gren squads with Faust, it's very munitions heavy, and you kind of saw at the end there. I think he was trying to bluff it. There was one engagement where Gren's running up to a Crusader, but when it doesn't immediately launch the Faust, like that tells me like, oh, he's actually short on munitions, and so maybe that bluff didn't work, and UMB was just happy to kite and do the manpower bleed. So we're real quick before we go into the next game. So you're in a tournament. You play game 1. It doesn't go your way, right? This probably has never happened to you, but let's say you lose a game. What do you think?
That experience is kind of not really in my territory anymore.
but let's talk about like what changes. How do you approach the second game, especially if you're in like a best of 3 or a best of 5, when you go into like a must-win game? How does that change your approach, your mentality? Is there anything you do to reset going from game to game?
Aside from like physical normal stuff, so I have a routine before tournaments, which is sleep well, eat a good hearty breakfast, some bacon, and egg, coffee. Be physically and mentally well prepared. I tend to play worse in my first game compared to my second. But I think I'm a bit of an edge case where I play better the more I'm cornered. So if it's like a best of 5 and I'm down like 2 games, that's when I play like the best. So for me, I'm like usually just fine with like losing game 1 and being like, okay, we'll just bring it back. You get all your bad energy out, and all your nerves and anxiety and whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's back against the wall, you don't. So game one is always for if you want to cheese someone, that's the best time to do it in the best of five.
Okay.
If you want to throw something off meta at them to throw them off their game, that's usually useful. Game two is if you're behind, it's you're locking in, you're playing standard because
Okay.
you can now not afford to make mistakes. You can't afford to risk it, right? But
Mhm.
it's like going out on a cheese build that fails. It's not only humiliating, it just feels bad.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, I like that. Uh, so thinking about that stuff going in. So now you've got, I think the perception at least, is that the Axis are maybe slightly ahead in terms of balance in 2v2 this patch. And so a lot of the kind of the rules discussion that we had with the players beforehand was based around, oh, we think Axis are going to have a extremely high win rate. So you're flying pancake, you're auto, and you just lost your Axis game. Now you're rolling into allies. What is there, like you said, if your back's against the wall, you lost your first game, you're going into a more standard build. What would you expect to see here from these guys in terms of playstyle? They're on the same map. And again, just kind of for context, so the battle groups that are banned, let me find this one, are heavy armor and heavy weapons. So no Pershing, no Black Prince. What are you thinking about?
I would be thinking about armor as USF.
Mm-hmm.
The veterans you want is useful. I mean, the way I would play it is very different from I think how these guys will play it. But the way I would play it personally is I would play WC armor, 30 cals, and bazooka men at the bazoo into M3s, into Scots, into 88s. Is what I consider the optimal way to play USF is spam tier 2 units.
Okay.
But we could see, I expect this guy to play a little bit more standard maybe, so he might just play tier 1, Jeep rifle. I mean, some players like to do this thing where if they lose to something in a tournament,
Mm-hmm.
Kimbo was notorious for this, and you could manipulate him a little bit during tournaments. Is if he lost to something in a tournament, he would just copy and just do the same thing back. So they could legit just try and do that. Although from Otto's command list, it's probably not going to happen. I expect to see Canadians from the Brit player.
Mm-hmm.
Proc is good. It's a heavy tank. It's just solid all around. Canadians are good. Self heal is good. Free grenades is good. I mean, the entire doctrine basically doesn't have like a bad ability.
Yeah, it makes the Brits better across the board.
Yeah, it just also shores up your major weakness, which is the mid game. Having essentially a Jaeger squad on steroids, just protecting your AT guns is just amazing to have.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. No spoilers. I know what these guys are going to pick, but I'm not going to say anything until we get into the game. Let's take a 3-minute break here. I'm going to refresh my coffee, and then we'll launch into the next game here.
I'm also going to get some coffee.
Perfect. All right. Be right back, everyone. Hey, Green Apple. I saw you're asking about brackets. So there's not a bracket yet. We will do a bracket for the final round next week. This tournament is kind of got an interesting structure. So we started with 24 teams, and we did a play. This is the first play-in round. So this is seeds 9 through 24. And then this coming week, starting right now, is teams 1 through really the remaining 16 teams will play another match this week. The reason I didn't do brackets, I just passed to the players their matchups late last night because this first round concluded, and then they're going to play kind of asynchronously all week. So we'll publish that on Friday night, and then Saturday morning we kick off the final 3 rounds. So thank you for asking. Unfortunately, no brackets just yet. OrangePest, are you back?
I'm here.
Hell yeah! All right, let's load up the next game here. All right, so for those of you just joining us, this is game 2 of a best of 3 between Colonel Otto, Flying Pancake, and Azilagath and Umyran. In the first game, Azilagath, Umyran playing the Allies, won their matchup. It was a good game. It was, I'd say, close for about 14-15 minutes, and then a couple of good dives by the Allies. Some Crusaders really kind of turned it. Battle groups that are banned across the board for this game. You've got Panzer Air Command and Terror on the Axis side, heavy armor, heavy weapons on the Allied side. I am set up here at the 2-second mark. If you're
So am I.
Perfect. All right. Unpausing in 3, 2, 1. Unpause. Now we're up at 5,
6, 7.
Perfect. Okay. So here at the top of the screen in blue is Azilagath playing Dak, immediately locking in armored support. And then opposite him, Umyran in teal, playing Wehrmacht. No choice yet. Just getting a second Pioneer and now getting his infantry company out. In
I want to
red,
point out real quick before we continue on.
Yeah.
Umyran for a second there was going to do Pioneer spam, but I think Azilagath talked them down because I saw those 4 Pioneers get queued up.
He is a fan of the Pioneer spam, and he's actually gone for mechanized, so I'm curious how he plays this. Colonel Otto's in red here, playing Brits, immediately locking in Indian artillery. Okay. So interesting choices here from Otto in both games early, locking in Flying Pancake, going for advanced infantry. He's here in purple. So I have played a couple...
I'm completely wrong, I guess.
So on one hand, it's interesting in seeing the approach, right? Because they're going kind of off meta. Maybe the thought process is they can catch their opponents off guard a little bit. I have played Flying Pancake enough to know that what he's really hoping to do is build a couple of howitzers and just go to town on the Axis base. But we will see here. As I think on the Axis side, you're seeing a very kind of meta construction from the DAT Crowdshits and 2 Panzer Grenadiers, from Umyran mechanized, double Pio, double Gren. So
I would be, if I was Flying Pancake and Colonel Otto, maybe I don't, like, in their shoes, if I had to be, like, analyzing the thought process, maybe it's less, okay, let's play meta, and more, let's play what we're used to, what we're comfortable with. Because I assume these guys are big auto match players. I think I've seen them a couple of times. So I assume it's just like, they play auto match, they queue up a couple of Indian games, a couple of Ranger games, and they just, this is what they're comfortable with, this is what they feel good with, so that's what they're doing,
Yeah. And that's at least on Pancake's part, I can vouch for that. And then, on the Axis...
If I was doing this right now, this is like... If I was like either of their teammates, I'd be like, are you trolling me right now?
Indian artillery, well, so they made some changes. The artillery saturation could be really good, and you get the volunteer infantry, but it's still like the least chosen battle group for the Brits right now.
it's the best way I can describe it is Indian. It's a theoretically good doctrine right now. And the reason it's theoretically good is that it makes your faction's baseline stronger across the board. For example, Valor makes your infantry theoretically better. Having the global sprint can make, big attacks theoretically better. Gurkhas will shore up your anti-infantry. And, cheaper infantry is always good, and having good artillery, or better artillery even, is also good. But the problem is, okay, first of all, Valor requires you to lose. So you have to be losing to make Valor useful. Which is, for an ability, that's no good. If I have to lose half my squad for my unit to become more effective, that's effectively admitting I want you to outplay me, so I can have a better engagement, which is just it doesn't work. And then you have Gurkhas. Gurkhas are good. It's like the least egregious thing in the doctrine. And then you start getting into the cheaper manpower, and that's theoretically good, but it's like the tempo loss. For example, by the time the Indian reserves come out, a verbal one will hit the field around the same timing. So the verbal builds up and slaughters your entire army because you have nothing in your roster, like, for example, Canadians. Or back in the day, you had the Crusader AA that could stop this and give you some sort of boost to fight back against the early verbal. And then on the other side, you have the artillery stuff.
Oh, this
the airburst is excellent, but the scoped rifle barrage is not only cheaper, but if de facto essentially better, arguably. On top of this, you can boost it a little bit even with the doctrine. And it's all of these things, yes, they're good individually, but it's I could also just get permanent regeneration on all my infantry. Or I could get a heavy tank in the late game. I could get a discount even earlier.
Oh, rifle goes down.
Ooh, that's brutal.
A couple. The Axis doing a good job applying some early pressure. The Flying Pancake got caught overextended just a little bit. Oh, he could have merged into those Pioneers, but Umayyan Braz going Luftwaffe Company. Well, good pressure though from Flying Pancake, able to capture that +10 fuel. The problem is they're still fighting for their cutoff.
Yeah, so a little bit of slip up from Umayyan brother. He lost one of the piles. He's doing something I like to call the Hungarian Wehrmacht, which is you grab all your grens and all your piles and you just merge into your flamer, because that's what Fergie and Mule love to do. They just love playing like that, right? And it's super effective in the early game. If you're not ready for it and you're not counter bobbing, it's very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
We also got a very early, too early actually, 120 mortar call out. And this is a misplay, and I'll explain why this is a misplay.
Okay.
The Polston, you cannot upgrade currently because he doesn't have tier 2, so he's essentially saddled himself with a good mortar piece, and the mortar, there's nothing wrong with the mortar, but he's now losing manpower, lost resources on a unit that's literally not gonna do anything. It's literally just gonna sit in the base now and do nothing. That has zero value.
Yeah. Yeah. And
he's just losing value right now.
In a close game, especially a game when you're already starting behind because you lost the first one, that's a rough trade to make.
I mean, if it was tier 2 up, you can upgrade the pulse stun or the healing thing. That's useful. That's incredibly good to have. But now he's kind of he's put himself behind. His opponents are teching. We got Umayyan Braz got gone tier 2. Probably gonna scale into verbals. That could have been an AT gun. Could have been, and it could have been tier 2 up already. Could have had an Umber out. But instead we got a Polston that's not gonna leak too much.
Oh, that 250 wrong neighborhood just gets annihilated. And the Sappers of Flamethrowers. That was, I like the thought from a Zilligath there, but that is that's an unfortunate engagement where he basically just lost a 250 and didn't really gain anything. Just trying to apply pressure to that cutoff. Scoreboard would be nice. Yes, I appreciate that.
All of the rifles of Flying Pancake get caught by one MG42 and are sent back to base.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with the hunter sniper game previously. Like, you just catch them out once and suppress them, and now all of those units are off the field for a solid 30 seconds, and you immediately see UMB is taking advantage of this, setting up the flak 30. He's got the healing bunker up at headquarters.
It's a lot. Like 30 seconds doesn't sound long, right? But in code, 30 seconds is a legitimately like significant amount of time to like do stuff.
Yeah,
we're looking at like right now. That's his entire army doing literally. Oh my god! I just used stack them up.
I just did too, so you're good.
Okay.
So yeah, they're now getting Axis are able to apply a lot of pressure.
Honestly, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but it's already looking kind of over. That engagement was really bad. They've now lost their fuel. We're looking at a flat reeling. I mean, any second now, your Marienbach should be rushing out the verbal, except he's not spending his resources. Okay, maybe they can crawl back if he doesn't get a verbal up, but if a verbal arrives in the 1 to 2 minutes from now, I just don't see what the play is for allies if they can't regain their fuel.
Polston, I think he wants to challenge the Flakverling with the Polston. Polston's still just kind of setting up. Now it'll start shooting. Oh, a big hit from the boys' AT rifles. Flakverling barely gets away. Asher Green Apple. There's not a brackets link. It's on the Reddit page. We'll talk about it afterwards. This is not the live portion of the tournament. This is a replay from earlier. Well, yeah, so Flying Pancake, it took... Yes, debacle, that's what we realized in the last game. TAC map causes a slight stutter, which if you use it quite a bit, like most of us do when we play, it can lead to a co-caster being desynced.
Yeah, it's rough. So, it's a habit I have because I spam it too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm just used to not doing it for casting. But I mainly use the mouse.
I'm legit just one hand on the coffee and then just mouse wheel to move around, so I don't back up.
So the other thing Debacle brought up for Indian Artillery, the potential advantage of Valor is it improves survivability on retreat. Oh, let's see if the Polston can get engaged here. Oh man, the pathing is struggling. Polston's going to disengage, infantry sections disengage, and now Colonel Otto kind of forced off the field a little bit. They're not a full retreat. And actually, Pancake's done a nice job.
Just looking at Valor, by the way, now that he brought it up, I'm looking at it. It's 15% damage reduction. I mean, that's okay, but that's 2 CP points. Just to compare, right? Heavy armor of the British one, the one that gives you the Royal Engineers for cheaper, is 2 CPs. That's the same. We're talking like a global reduction in all your engineers, cost reduction and reinforce. And I think it's also cost reduction in production. Like the comparative power spike, it's night and day.
Yeah.
Or even like the 2-pounder, it's like 1 CP.
Yeah, the 2-pounder is great because it's basically like a mute button on early light vehicle power spikes.
It's one of my favorite designed units because it actually opens up the Brit mid to early game and how you can approach it a little bit. I mean, it's getting off now. We're getting off topic into like balance stuff, but we got a big push coming from the DAC player. That's gonna be pretty rough, but the flag gets caught out.
Good couple of Zook hits there. And then the Polston. Oh, the Flying Pancake lost his captain. UMB on the opposite flank. I think we're going to see like a little bit of a pocket collapse here onto this cutoff. And then a Zilligath, again, doing a great job harassing the fuel on the backside. The 221 with the map hack is really nice. Plus,
we got desperation bars coming out now, but... We're sitting on 600 manpower at USF. That's like, this is the sort of position you really don't want to be at.
He's got the weapon support center, so he's got options for 1919. Another rifle squad. If he wanted to, he could invest in Rangers. He's going for the improved rockets right now. He's Flying Pancake has
Normally,
been really...
I would say that's a very good call, but unfortunately for him, we got a Stug D call on with the Stuff Trooper, and the Stug D will just bounce and just no-sell your bazookas anyway.
Oh my gosh, these Panzer Grenadiers with the LMGs and veteran squad leaders, and then the Airburst Barrage is doing more damage to the Allied team weapons.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to deny the recruit there.
Yeah, wow, those T-Grens, they scale so well with veterancy and those LMGs. Yeah, now the Allies just trying to fight their way out of base here.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. You got a Stuff Trooper and the Stug, and those are 2 units that kind of just... In terms of anti-infantry specialization for Wehrmacht, you don't really get any better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good way to deal with a rifle-heavy build.
Yeah, I mean, this is... If I was approaching like a fight like this is like how I would deal with rifles, you know?
Yeah.
You throw out support weapons, you throw out the Stug or 8-Rad, you know? You get these heavy pillar pieces, as I like to call them, for Wehrmacht. Because Wehrmacht is kind of like... it's like a machine, right? And like everything is like a specialist, essentially. You have a couple of generalists, but you're built mostly around having specialist units.
Yeah.
And so just having the pieces in place means you can nullify so much of the rifle play and so much of the aggression that USF can bring to bear early.
Yeah, even over here, this MG42 combines with Grens to keep the Allies from recapping that fuel that they so desperately need. And then a second Stug D with Stas hit the field. That's a ton of manpower that UMB was floating to make that possible. And you see it in the KD. It's about a 2-to-1 KD in favor of the Axis. This Flak 30 is about to get overrun and possibly stolen. The MG42 reface is... I don't think it's going to save anything. Well, maybe it
might be able to.
Oh, white phosphorus round. But everybody's
the suppression.
The area
we got
suppression.
The double Stugs. This is...
Oh, yeah, this is gonna be bad here. There's no counter. If Flying Pancake went for the weapons support center, and that has the potential to be really, really painful. Lots of manpower, but no motor pool for the AT gun. Zooks do not trade well against Stug Ds. The whole infantry section goes down to the Stas. Here's a 6-pounder wall, but all this Axis infantry can just burn that down as well.
Yeah, we got the NPC horde on the way to try and save the day, but I'm not sure they'll one in the wrong place, wrong time. They might be able to catch the Stugs. Oh, actually, frontal rear hits might actually take down one of the Stugs.
You'd love to see it. One Stug goes down. The Stas have found the Polston. Oh, supported by a stolen 6-pounder. Polston gets knocked out. And I think that's actually just a surrender.
Yeah, that's squad morale destroyed.
Oh, man. That's unfortunate. That was a quicker game than I expected. Looking at the stats here. Yeah. Okay. Unit build. I think your assessment early was spot on. Like, hey, I want to spam Pios. Squad leader Polston down. We got to retreat. Yeah. I want to spam Pios. I get talked off the ledge. 2 Pios, 2 Grens, 2 MG42s, a Jaeger and a Flak 30. But I think, and the UMB's strategy to me looked like a couple of Stug Ds into Panthers, and that's really all you need. Specialist anti-infantry units, specialist anti-vehicle units, and you're good to go there. Yeah, and it's like these are good players. That I'm a little surprised at how quickly that game turned. How much does, when you're in these tournaments and you're playing game after game after game, even you get a short break between games, but that's not a ton of time to reset. How much does fatigue play into it for you?
Fatigue is brutal. It used to be worse, like significantly worse, as in like O2. You would have to, like, there were days, some tournaments where it's like back-to-back best of threes, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah.
Until it's like 3 hour games in a row. Or
Yeah.
no, 1 hour games in a row 3 times. And you have
Mhm.
to do that like 2 series. And they're in the semifinals and you have to play like a best of 5. That's what it can get. And it's like you woke up like it's like 1 o'clock you start and it's like fucking midnight by the time you're closing out and you're like sitting there like I can barely keep my eyes open. My brain is fried because it's high. You're very tense the entire time and you don't really like Ko is one of those games that's like once it starts, you don't really get to rest. Like
Yeah.
RTS games are very intense like that.
Yeah.
There's no break, Like in for example, a game like Counter-Strike, but you have your starting position and then you have your buy stuff and once you're dead, you get to spectate the rest of the match.
Mhm.
Because it's just you.
Yep.
It means you're playing nonstop. You constantly have to make decisions, and that decision fatigue can and will catch up to you for sure.
Yeah, no, the way I used to describe it to people, especially with Co 2 and Brood War. You're right. I like the new tick rate. I know some people are frustrated by how fast it ticks down, but Co 2, there were games where I felt like I was in a boxing match by the time I got out of it. It's an hour, 70-minute game. If you can't run MVPs. I used to tell people it feels a little bit like playing speed chess constantly because you can't stop. You're on the clock because your opponent's also constantly moving. And then if you're bad at the game, you have to work that much harder to make up for the skill gap. There's a little bit of like technique there, especially players are really good at using the tac map. They're more efficient with their movements, more efficient with their schema. And then the more you're prepared, and this gets into what we were talking about earlier, the more you're prepared to play and prepared to play the different maps, the less you have to think about like meta strategy and micro at the same time.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it becomes an autopilot, right? It starts running on its own, and you're kind of just letting your plan play out until, of course, your opponent punches you in the dick, and you're like, "Wait, shit, I didn't prepare for this." That's always fun.
Yeah. Okay. Any other big takeaways from that game? I think the fatigue is the biggest thing I saw. I think Flying Pancake was trying to be really aggressive, and I appreciate that. But a couple of overextensions that the French team just caught out, and it hurt them a little bit. What did you get on your side?
There's no offense to them. The strategy that they came prepared with, just not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
In a turn, like if they're playing for fun, that's one thing, and I get that. That's perfectly acceptable and okay. But if you're trying to win, playing what you're comfortable with doesn't necessarily equate to doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they came in game 2 back against the wall. They're coming with off meta strats. And it's just, I mean, even if it was well executed, gaps in strategy can and will lose you games without fail.
Yeah. Yeah. And to some extent, like I tried to disrupt the constant meta by having the battle group bans, so people can, if they wanted to prep, they could take a look at what their opponents. Like, I'm actually kind of shocked the team that played against PAX Ajax did not ban advanced infantry. Ended up not mattering because he went with heavy weapons instead. But it's one of those things, like if you know that your opponent has a certain tendency or a preference. Like if I ever play against
PAX is PAX and Weekly, they're both one tricks.
Yeah, Reekley, I'm never letting him have Bristolieri. Never, not once. Because he could beat me with no battle group. But so real quick, as we pivot, I've got all the battle group analysis. For those of you who are joining, especially people looking for brackets, I apologize. Because all this is async, and then this current week's round is also going to be async. The brackets are not posted live. We'll have a bracket solution for Saturday. But what I will do here is I'll throw up the current. This is round 1 and all the choices, right? So you guys can kind of see This is also up on the Reddit page. The initial bracket is, but here are all the wins. So a couple takeaways. Right. First off, the high seed won all the games. We had an issue with a team that dropped out, so we only played 7 games here. But the high seed won all seven times, 2-0. So 50% win rate for Axis and Allies. Not much that's instructive there. From a team or a faction build out perspective, every Axis game was 1 Ver, 1 DAC. On the Allied side, it was mainly mixed as well, with a handful of games WK, no WSF. So this is the round 1 bracket here, and then this is your round 2 bracket. So I will post this to the Reddit page later today. So here are your matchups. So you have Ferrigian Mule, the Doctrinal Donkeys, playing as console players Jay Walker and Mario PL. You have Hulk Smash and Ruby up against Pax Ajax and Ender. Future NP and Nub against Hunter and Sniper. Simon and Symbiosis against Ares and Red Leader, aka Dumbass. Ray and Janko are going to play as Zilligath and Umyron Bra. So the team that we saw here. Yeah, they won that game and they go right into Ray and Janko. That should be fun. Insane Eddie and Ra against Helping Hans and Latoof. Havoc and Reekley, they've teamed up. I personally love this, and so thank you to those who helped get the PR campaign to get these guys to team up together, since they play each other in 1v1s constantly. I thought it'd be fun. They're up against...
I'm more surprised Reekley have found someone to play with, because he asked me too. I got asked by multiple people, and I said no, I'm not interested in competing. But Reekley asked a lot of people, and a lot of people told him no, basically.
It can be tricky, because you like, if you're going to take it seriously, you want to prep. But I'm glad he's in, and I'm glad he's in with Havoc. I think that'll be really fun. A couple people posted in the comments like, yeah, they play against each other enough. They should actually have some decent chemistry. We'll see how that goes. They're up against Heartless Jaeger and Valmin Teufel, who are they've been a team for as long as I can remember. And then the last matchup, Black Phoenix, another really, really strong Axis team, Chronosaurus and Colossus, against Skid Row and Nico. So, if anyone has questions about how we did the initial seeding, it's all based on 2v2 Elo. But those are kind of the initial rounds for this week. And then again, what we're going to do is pare it down to 8 teams. So the 8 teams that come out of this will go into a bracket, and that will... Scotch, Zulu, Smoko, Momo missing. Yeah. So I know Momo is unavailable, and Scotch was also unavailable based on the time, which is why Janko is available to play with Ray. Zulu, Smoko, yeah, I agree. But people's schedules are people's schedules. Would have been really cool to see him in here. Even then, we have, especially if you include like kind of the initial seed and playing round 1, a lot of really good teams.
There's a lot of actual, like, for a top 16, this is pretty decent. I'd say it's actually it's fairly stacked. I mean, it's not the most stacked you could have ever, but it's still stacked enough from like, yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah. I am pumped that we got all these people signed up. I'm happy with the top 16 here. And then a couple of things I wanted to hit. We've been over kind of the bans already, but the battle group picks, I think this is really interesting. So on the Wehrmacht side, you see really either Breakthrough or Mechanized, one pick for Luftwaffe, and then several where a Wehrmacht player just didn't choose a battle group, which I think says something about the strength of the meta for Wehrmacht right now anyway. On the DAC side, half of the picks armored support, some Italian combined arms, some Italian infantry, 1 Panzer Air Command, 1 espionage. Espionage was banned quite a bit, so I think it was like the one match where it wasn't banned, it was chosen.
It's one of those doctrines that's brutal to play against because of how it's this annoying, right? It's like it's just annoying. I mean, that's the easiest way to describe it. It's just like tedious and annoying to fight, and it's like you just every time I've played against it, I'm like I come away frustrated. Essentially, you know, one of those
Yeah.
doctrines that makes me scratch my head when I'm like playing.
Yeah, the camo mechanic is frustrating to play against, and then the incendiary munitions from the AT guns, super frustrating to play against. On the UK side, you see Australians, basically chosen several times when they weren't banned. It was banned quite a bit. Shock is the predominant choice if it wasn't banned. A little bit of heavy armor, a little bit air and sea. A couple of Indian artillery, like we talked about, and then some no battle group choice, just a little bit in there.
I mean, one of the things you can keep in mind for Reds is that they have the same thing as Wehrmacht, right? It's just like you can play non-doc and still be solid, especially in teams. Less so in 1v1, but more so in team games. You have a little bit more flexibility because your baseline faction is kind of it's just solid, right? There's no like you look at, for example, DAC or US. There are some weaknesses there and some problems, but Brits don't really suffer from that in the same way.
Yeah, I think both Brits and Wehrmacht, like the only thing that they really lack is like a late game tank destroyer, but they have access to everything else, all the other problem solving units that you really need.
That's why the other two doctrines are considered like are played so often, right? A big part of the draw is well, you get the archer with Australians, and you get Canadians with the Piats, and the Piat. It's no archer, obviously, but it's still up there in terms of this power level, where it's like it's a de facto Shrek. It'll deal with essentially anything that isn't like even a tiger it can still threaten, you know.
Yeah.
So that is a big part of it, I think.
Yeah. And then finally on the US side, a lot of advanced infantry in this tournament so far.
That's surprising to me.
I think primarily because Armored was banned quite a bit. If I go back and look at this, Armored was banned several times, as well as heavy weapons. So I think if your Armored is taken away, or heavy weapons is taken away, and think about all the US games that we saw today.
Is it for the bans? Can it be like double bans on one faction?
Yep, it can.
Okay. Because I assume it's going to be like a lot of, if given the option, it's going to be either armor or Pershing. But maybe people just did not ban the Brit battle groups.
Yeah, I think, in my mind, I'm worried most about, I think, Australians. And then for me, it's a toss-up between the heavy weapons and the Canadians. Armored is good, but Easy 8s are still just medium tanks. And it also kind of depends what the second axis ban is, right? Because Terror's going first, obviously. So if they ban battlefield espionage, then you're not really limited in terms of what kind of like heavy anti-tank you can get out. If they ban mechanized, which mechanized got banned several times, then now you're limited. You can't get your Panther, so then you start to get shoehorned into Tigers. But at least the DAC player can always get a Tiger out no matter what.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't like that. I don't like the fact that that gets non-doc heavies, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, it's an interesting. There are a lot of balance implications there. I personally don't like the fact that US doesn't get a non-doc elite infantry, but I know rifle play can be.
I guess that's what depends what you classify rifles on. They are considered rifles like super elite.
Well, yeah, but if they had a late game option, now we're firmly off track.
Now we're off to sorry. This is my nerd coming out just automatically.
No, I'm good at this. If I could change two things, right? You could if you took SSF and you made them non-doctrinal and you said they're available at tier 4, as a US because they're consistent with the Mediterranean theater and the theme. All right, so you get SSF commandos at tier 4, which kind of helps USF infantry scaling. You could tone down the rifles a little bit, right? And I think that would, because the rifles, then they wouldn't have to scale into the late game. So there's some options there. And then I think in general, like the mediums in this game need to be across the board buffed against infantry. Because now
I think that's a slippery slope.
It is. I'm not, this is a really, really tough game to balance, but there are certain situations where you see infantry just like stare at a tank and they're like, oh no, this is fine. I'm just going to stand here and chunk these shots. And like, that's not, you don't want that.
The problem is, so from where I'm standing, I think mediums are fine. I think they're actually marginally a little bit overtuned.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem isn't it's not the mediums themselves, it's the timing they come out at right now. Okay. Where like we saw today, like, okay, we saw an early 12-minute Crusader.
12-minute Crusader.
That's an anomaly, not the standard.
Yeah.
The normal timing of a medium tank is 15 minutes if you get a single light vehicle and no other upgrades. So this means de facto, when you're playing the game, 90% of the time, you're going to have like a window of maximum of 5 minutes to deal with, to basically make an impact with your medium tank before the heavy arrives, which is that's not tenable. No. Like, that's 5 minutes to close out the game before the Tiger arrives, and it's like, great, fuck me. I didn't do anything amazing with the medium, and now I'm just dead.
Yeah, and that's tough because the tick rate is so much faster that they can't make, like, if you have to wait that much longer to get the heavies, you're in.
Yeah, exactly. That's I had this discussion with my friend. I was like he was asking me like, how do we solve this? And I'm like, I don't think you can, because if you tie the heavies to tech, then they're just never gonna see play ever again. So the game it'll be like 30 minutes and they arrive, and then the match is over. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
nice play. Tiger hits your base, and then it's just GG. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The alternative, I don't know why they increased the cost of tier 4 across the board. That's just weird.
And the irony is, I think they wanted to decrease the stalling for tier 4 as a strategy, which they did, but now they just increased the stalling for heavies. And so
they decreased it by getting rid of it as an competitive option, essentially.
Yeah.
And you look at the Crusader AA, the Centaur. When was the last time you saw those units played in a game?
Last patch. Yeah.
But also units that you like, why would I? It's just, it doesn't, the decision making to me is just so bizarre. Because it's like, the Crusader 2 is a generalist that fights everything effectively. And that's okay. But instead of like giving Brits, which has a very flat, line of like teching and how you go about doing stuff.
Mm-hmm. By
removing options, you've made them even more. Now it's literally the only options you are is Steward or Humber every game, no matter what, and that's not good. That's not healthy for the game, I don't think. I would have rather them just add like, okay, you want to get the Crusader AA, you have to get the Steward side tag. But then that comes with its own very, very nasty timing implications for Brits. Because imagine you get like a 7-minute Crusader AA. I thought those units were fine as they were. I didn't think they needed changes, but
yeah, there were scenarios where you could catch someone out with it, but I think they were rare, and they were much more rare, especially at the high level. But
it was always it was never about like the Crusader AA either. It was always the Black Prince that was the problem. So you could go double Crusader AA into Black Prince.
Yeah,
that was the issue, right?
Yeah,
because then it's like
tier 4 entirely.
Yeah,
and then the Centaur's in a terrible place right now. It's a shame. There was a game, I think it was top 3 control. He built like 4 Centaurs, and he almost made it work with like a base dive, but it just tilted on him at the last minute. Yeah. The one thing I will say, so Relic clearly cares about balancing the game for multiple player levels, right, and all the game modes. So you don't see them, but we're only worried about getting a 50% win rate for 1800 elo plus 1v1. Like they care across the board, and that makes it tough. The other thing though is like, I'm okay with the game not being perfectly balanced, because all these little tweaks and changes like change the style of play. And I'm sure it can be frustrating from time to time, but it is fun to see the game morph, and stuff that worked 6 months ago is either doesn't work now or is a little bit trickier to work. It only works in niche situations. So and then also the meta like shifts and changes over the course of a patch. I know coming into this one, into 2.0, a lot of people are still trying to run weapon support center heavy builds for USF, but we just saw 3 games where USF players leaned really hard into rifles and it worked.
I mean, I can send you a replay of me doing it to Ash and him being completely helpless.
You are a unique case, though. I'll give you that.
Well, it's not even. I think Dane casted it, but it's hilarious. Like, I know we're talking about how WC isn't meta, but no offense to the players that played today, they aren't like. I mean, I'm sure maybe they won't. Maybe I'll be wrong. Team games are a completely different ball game, obviously, yeah. But I still think WC Scouts fucking 30 cal spam is still going to be king, at least in 1v1. In team games, maybe not, but if you go queue up a 1v1 game and they're playing as a DAC player and you do the proper micro, you're not even beatable. It's not even like in the realm of realism. It's actually like terrible.
But that whole do the proper micro thing means a little bit more than I think for.
I mean, it's different for like the skill levels, right? But like all it really means is did you pack up or not properly, or did you like it's. Yeah. I'll send you the video at some point. You'll see what I mean, because it's like he comes at me, he catches me off guard, and I aim moved, so my 50 cal is automatically turned around, and then it's just like, okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Askerans, back to base.
Yeah. Oh, I do love the sound of the 50, though. God, it sounds so good.
Oh, no, it's cool as shit. It's just imbalanced. It's just not balanced.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's where I'm going to call this stream. So thank you for taking a couple hours this morning and kind of going over all this stuff with us.
Yeah, no problem.
For everyone else, thank you for joining. I plan on doing another highlight video depending on schedule this week. And then next Saturday, the whole thing is live starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time, rolling through probably 8 or 9 p.m. So at least 3 best of 3s will be cast on this channel depending on timing. We'll have some other co-casters help out. I think Daniel D is supporting. Quick thanks, obviously, OrangePest for hanging out this morning. Turtle War and Rather Splendid Cromwell for their help last night. Rather Splendid Cromwell has done a lot of the graphics and the videos for this, so big shout out to him. And then the final thing, if you want to contribute to the prize pool, there's a link on my Twitch page and on my YouTube page to Ko-Fi. Whatever you throw in there will go into the prize pool for this tournament. And so that'll support the players who put all the time in prepping and playing the matches. So just want to throw that out. But thanks, everyone. Thanks, OP. And we will see you guys in the next one.